This is my African brother right here. Let's go. What's up, bitch? Let's go.
He's behaving like a clown in there.
What's up?
I'm African, but I ain't no brother of yours, son.
Come on, let's go.
That's not how a man behaves. He's behaving like a child.
Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. A deep rivalry with an ugly beginning. On the 18th of July, these two UFC titans will be going head-to-head for the undisputed middleweight championship. And while I can see this fight going many different ways, there's only one thing I'm certain of. Somebody's getting finished. In this video, I'm going to break down who these fighters are, how we got to this fight, and what we can expect from each fighter. And finally, who I think is going to win. Israel Adesanya is a man who needs little to no introduction to most fight fans, widely regarded as one of the greatest middleweights to ever enter the octagon. But how did he get such a reputation? He built his illustrious career first in kickboxing before seamlessly transitioning into mixed martial arts. He made his UFC debut in 2018 with a spectacular TKO over Rob Wilkinson in the second round. He then beat Marvin Vettori and Brett Tavares before facing the ever-dangerous Derek Brunson, who he finished in the first round. This skillful finish gave him the opportunity to face the middleweight GOAT, Anderson Silva.
He's got his legs across. That's what's. He's tapping. It's all over. It is all over. I mean, that's amazing. He's out. We said second to none.
The two put on a marvel of a fight, with Israel Adesanya getting his hand lifted at the end. For many, this fight signaled the passing of the torch from one great to the next great. In 2019, Adesanya was then tasked with facing Kelvin Gastelum for the interim UFC middleweight championship. The two put on an instant classic, with Adesanya winning by unanimous decision and the fight being widely regarded as the fight of the year. With Adesanya now holding interim gold, the only way forward was to face the champion, Robert Whittaker. Adesanya would not only win the title, but he would do so by knocking out Whittaker in the second round. This would signal the start of his first reign as champion. Adesanya would go on to defend his title 2 more times before he dared to be great and challenge the light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz. But unfortunately, he would come up short. He would then defend his middleweight championship 3 more times before facing his longtime rival, Alex Pereira, who would shockingly knock him out in the 5th round to take his gold. With a chip now on his shoulder, Adesanya would have a rematch against Pereira where he would knock him out in a more brutal fashion, returning the favor twofold. For many, this knockout signaled the return of the middleweight king. But that was not the case. Be completely outclassed in his next title defense against Sean Strickland, who many counted out in this fight, but more on him later. While from his debut, many believed that Adesanya was just destined for greatness and that it was inevitable that eventually he would be champ. But the same can't be said for Dricus, as many believed that his fighting style was just too awkward and that most of his wins were just flukes. Just like Adesanya, Dricus also comes from a kickboxing background, where he became the Waco World Champion. He then began to make his name in mixed martial arts in the AFC, where he would suffer his first loss following a promising 4-win streak. But just like all great champions, Dricus would bounce back with an 8-fight win streak, winning the EFC welterweight and middleweight championship as well as the KSW middleweight championship. He would then immediately suffer his second loss in 2019, losing the KSW championship. Not long after this, Dricus would make his UFC debut where he would knock out Marcus Perez in the first round. He would then finish his next opponent, Trevin Giles. In his next match, he would get his first ever career decision against Brett Tavares. Dricus would then go on to finish his next 2 opponents, Darren Till by submission and Derek Brunson by TKO, before facing his biggest test yet, Robert Whittaker. Many people believed that Whittaker was a too big jump up in competition and that he would simply outclass Dricus. But oh how wrong we were. Dricus did not simply win. He finished Whittaker in the second round and became the second ever person to beat Whittaker at middleweight since Adesanya. this would set up his title bout against Adesanya. But wait, isn't Sean the champion? Well, yes, but before Sean got his chance, Dricus was actually the one who was supposed to face Adesanya, but he had to pull out due to an injury.
Israel Adesanya defends his middleweight title against 5th-ranked Sean Strickland.
This gave Strickland the perfect chance to capture gold, and as I said, he took it.
For the winner, by unanimous decision, and
With Dricus recovered and easy out of the way, it was now Dricus' shot at glory, and with an intense build-up between him and Sean.
Bro, why are you so angry? Bro, you think your dad beat the shit out of you? Your dad doesn't have shit on me. I'm gonna show you what it's like to beat you. I mean, every childhood memory you have is gonna come back when I'm in there with you.
Throughout the build-up, the two would go back and forth with one another and even brawled in the crowd of UFC 296. When the two finally met in the octagon, Dricus would get his hand raised after a very close-fought war between the two and finally have UFC gold around his waist.
for the winner by split decision, and
But now, where does Dricus and Adesanya's story start? Because up to this point, they haven't interacted much, right? Well, wrong. Actually, their beef started in early 2023. In case you're unaware, Dricus is a South African-born fighter who takes a lot of pride in his country, and since the beginning expressed his desire to take the UFC belt back to Africa. He has made many comments about this, but the one which gathered the most attention is when he had this to say.
Well, I mean, did those belts ever go to Africa? As far as I know, it came to America and New Zealand. I'm going to take a belt to Africa. I'm the African fighter in the UFC. Myself and Cameron, we breathe the African air. We wake up in Africa every day. We train in Africa. We're African born. We're African raised. We still reside in Africa. We train out of Africa. That's an African champion, and that's who I'll be.
As I'm sure you can imagine, this upset a lot of people, especially Kamaru Usman and Israel Adesanya, who are of Nigerian descent and take a lot of pride in their heritage. While Usman says he understands what Dricus meant, he had this to say about the situation.
Though I understand what he's trying to say, but the one thing that I think he's failing to realize is, just because I go to China and my parents are in China and I'm raised in China, that doesn't make me more Chinese than the people from China. That doesn't make me more Chinese. And so just because you went over to South Africa and you're raised there, that doesn't make you African.
On the other hand, Israel Adesanya, who now lives in New Zealand, took his comments very personally and took it as Dricus saying that he was more African just because he still resides in Africa.
You're trying to tell me who the fuck I am. You can take the boy out of Africa, but you can never take the Africa out of the boy.
When what he actually meant is that he wants to be the first champion who still lives and trains in Africa.
I didn't say they were not African. I don't know what's the other narrative that was put out there. I stated fact. I am the only one in title contention ever to be born in Africa, live in Africa, to reside in Africa and train here every single day. That was my statement. And some people said, oh, I'm backpedaling. I never backpedal. I'm sticking with that because that is the fact.
The back and forth between Dricus and Adesanya would continue in the background, and Adesanya would even raise questions about where Dricus is really from, which was an interesting route for Adesanya to take since in the past he has claimed to be from multiple countries.
I seem to have struck a nerve with Israel Adesanya because it seems like he likes to be whatever fits him best, in terms of nationality. He's referred to himself as a Kiwi, he's referred to himself as a Chinese, he's referred to himself as a Nigerian. So, at the end of the day, he's born in Africa, he is African.
Heard of ancestry in me?
Of course.
If you do ancestry in me on me, I know where the fuck I'm from. If you do it on him, he'll find out where the fuck he's from. And I'll tell you, it wouldn't say South Africa.
This awkward conversation that was originally focused solely on heritage was quickly turning uglier as it started getting some racial undertones, with Adesanya calling Dricus various things in the octagon.
let's go. What's up? Let's go. Yeah.
Dricus, like many others, was especially disappointed that race was ever brought into this.
I've never even mentioned color because it makes absolutely no difference to me. Sport as a whole is what brings people together. There's no place for race and mentioning of color at all. The fact that Israel Adesanya brought race into the conversation, that anybody brings race into a conversation like this, that was disgusting. To be honest with you, I felt like the world of sports just took a step backwards. I'm not offended at all that at any racial slurs that he called me. It doesn't offend me. But the fact that that's the example that he's setting as a champion, that's a little bit, I don't think that belongs to a champion's character. I don't believe that's the message you want to send.
While it's easy to understand both fighters' point of view and their love for their heritage, I particularly feel sorry for Dricus. And not only because I'm South African, but because I genuinely believe that he really was just expressing his pride in his country and that his words were taken the wrong way. Regardless of which fighter you agree with, I hope that a nasty situation like this doesn't happen again, as it just doesn't have a place in this beautiful sport. Okay, now that we know about each fighter and how their feud started, let's break down their attributes, their fighting styles, and how they match up. Both of these fighters fight at 185 pounds. However, Adesanya has the height advantage over Dricus by 3 inches, and he also has the reach advantage of 4 inches. Dricus does come in as the younger fighter, as he is 30 years old and entering his peak, while Adesanya is now 35, which usually leads to the twilight of a fighter's career. Both fighters are comfortable fighting in orthodox and southpaw, which makes the fight even more interesting. Well, now that we know their attributes, what are their fighting styles? Dricus has an almost bulldog-like approach where he's constantly trying to move forward and keep up the pressure, but he also has devastating power and really good wrestling and submissions. He often pushes forward, throwing combinations of punches as he forces his opponent back, and once they make a mistake, he capitalizes to get the finish. He also makes use of powerful leg kicks that slow down his opponents, which will be crucial against Adesanya's masterful footwork. Dricus was often criticized for having a bad gas tank, but in his war against Strickland, he showed he can go the full 5 rounds without any problems. However, in the latter rounds, he did slow down significantly. Adesanya, on the other hand, is a mastermind sniper when it comes to using his long limbs to maintain distance and pick his shots with a variety of techniques. He uses his speed to pop shots when necessary and his quick footwork to step out of danger. He has also shown that he has devastating power from his hands and his legs, which makes him a constant threat. Just like Dricus, he loves going for his opponent's legs while working towards a finish, and he has shown time and time again his incredible fighting IQ that let him know when to back off and when to go in for the kill. While it's no secret that both of these fighters are great, neither of them are perfect and they have shown gaps in their game before. For Dricus, we can't ignore that he is a headhunter with over 60% of his strikes aiming for the head, and with his relentless pressure that can often leave him open to counters, as we saw in the Strickland fight. However, while Strickland is good, Adesanya is a whole different beast when it comes to his speed and power. If Dricus is not careful, Adesanya can easily catch him with one of those deadly counters and finish the fight. On the other hand, while Adesanya has a takedown defense of 78%, he has struggled in the past with a powerful grappler in Jan Blachowicz who was able to hold him down and deliver dangerous ground and pound. And while Jan, of course, is a higher weight class, Dricus is huge for the middleweight division, so if he can get Adesanya down and hold him there, then he will have some success.
We saw his fight with Alex Pereira. If I get him to the floor, it is not even a fight. It's not even a fight. If I just get my hands on him, it's not even a fight. I will manhandle him.
Adesanya also struggled a lot with the constant pressure of Sean Strickland, who he lost to, while Dricus was able to manage it, and while it was close, he won that fight. But now, where does this leave us? We got a bulldog of a fighter pushing towards a sniper scope in Adesanya. But how does each guy win the fight? Well, remember in the start when I said this fight will certainly end in a finish? I'm sticking by that. While I know it's true that Adesanya has won many fights by fighting smart and going the distance to get the decision, he's also a devastating finisher. Dricus currently has a record of 21-2 with 19 finishes, while Adesanya has a record of 24-3 with 16 finishes. Their records alone tell us that they have the killing instincts to finish a fight, and with the nastiness and bad blood in this feud, there's no way I see it going the distance. While Adesanya looked like he lost his edge in the last fight, whenever he had bad blood with an opponent, he has finished them brutally. Just look at the Pereira rematch or the Costa fight.
You can use your anger like I used in the Bronson fight, like I used in the Costa fight. You can use your anger to fuel you and be deadly. So.
Dricus, on the other hand, has powerful grappling and elite submissions that are going to cause Izzy a whole bunch of trouble. So now, who do I actually think is going to win? While I can see a world where Adesanya just picks Dricus apart from distance and he goes to a decision, I refuse to believe that that will happen. Looking at history, they're both going to go for the finish, which makes me lean more towards Dricus, as I think his power is more deadly. So I'll go 60% for Dricus and 40% for Adesanya. But who do you think is going to win, and also how? Let me know in the comments down below, and like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.